Hello and welcome to CRB Monitor's latest installment of Cannabis Q&A. My name is James Francis and I am the Chief Research Officer at CRB Monitor. CRB Monitor is a global database of more than 67,000 cannabis-related businesses, and at the heart of our database are more than 177,000 cannabis licenses and 103,000 individuals, which all help to provide essential market intelligence related to all of those businesses. Our database also includes global coverage of 1,800 publicly traded cannabis-linked securities. As part of our focus on capturing industry trends, in early 2022, we launched this series of interviews with business and thought leaders within the cannabis industry. In each interview, we cover a range of topics, from the global economy to regulation and other business and macro trends shaping the cannabis industry in 2022 and now going into 2023. Today, I'm so very pleased to be joined by Oren Shuster. He's the Chief Executive Officer and Director of IM Cannabis Corp. IM Cannabis Corp is a Canada-based cannabis company that is focused on offering a full spectrum of government-licensed cannabis products, from generic to good manufacturing practice or GMP certified and pharmaceutical grade, for both wholesale and retail clients. The IM Cannabis ecosystem operates in Israel through its commercial relationship with Focus Medical Herbs Limited, where it cultivates, imports, and distributes cannabis to medical patients, leveraging years of proprietary data and patient insights. The company also operates medical cannabis retail pharmacies, online platforms, distribution centers, and logistical hubs in Israel that enable the safe delivery and quality control of IM Cannabis products throughout the entire value chain. In Germany, the IM Cannabis ecosystem operates through Adjufarm GmbH, where it also distributes cannabis to medical patients. IM Cannabis is not only covered by our research team at CRB Monitor, but it's also a member of the Nasdaq CRB Monitor Index universe of CRBs. Now, about our guest. Oren Shuster is one of Israel's prominent experts in the field of medical cannabis. Oren brings more than 2 decades of proven entrepreneurial experience in founding and growing companies in the medtech and technology software industries. Prior to IMCC, Oren co-founded eWave with a vision to create an international tech company that provides software solutions for enterprises in digital, IT, HR, and medical technologies. His vision was realized fully, and today eWave is a global software house that employs 1,000 professionals with operations in the US, Canada, Brazil, India, and of course, Israel. So in addition to a tremendously successful entrepreneurial track record, Oren has held executive positions at companies within the telecom and digital media industries. And with that, I welcome you, Oren, and thank you for joining me today.
And thank you very much for inviting me.
I appreciate you tolerating my long-winded introduction. So what I want to do first, take a few minutes and get some insight into you, Oren. Your experience has been largely focused in software and technology, particularly in Israel, and many of us see Israel as kind of the hub of new technology, of emerging industry for the world. And so if you could take a few minutes and tell our audience how that experience has prepared you to lead a multinational cannabis company.
Like you said, I started with technology, like many others in Israel, more than 20 years ago, together with a partner. And we built actually a group of companies. And but what we've done differently is we've done it as a bootstrap. We never raised money. And all the technology group is, we build it with our hands. So by that, we had to learn the basics of running a business, customer service, billing, and so on. So once I started the cannabis business, I had a lot of experience of how to run a business, how to run international business, because most of our businesses are international. And it's completely different to start a business with all this background than to start it from scratch.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed too is, I mean, cannabis, I've visited a number of cultivation facilities and manufacturers and producers of products in the cannabis industry, and it's very technology heavy. I think that unless you do have that as a main focus, then the business will suffer, and that's what I have seen.
Yeah, I think that cannabis is actually a mixture of everything.
Hmm.
You have agriculture, you have technology, you have manufacturing, retail. It's like a microcosmos, and because it's new, I think it's so complicated, cannabis, relative to others. And we see many companies that are struggling because they didn't have any benchmark. It's a completely new industry.
Right.
But it's like I said, a mixture of part of everything you can find in cannabis.
No, I have to agree with that. It's a complex space to be in. Now, I wanted to ask you a question regarding the global economy. Now, Oren, world events that have taken place over the last couple of years have thrown this sort of giant inflationary blanket, or maybe we could even be looking at a recessionary blanket over an otherwise global robust economy that we enjoyed up until a couple of years ago. Now, cannabis, as we know, can be classified as sort of a discretionary and also a pharmaceutical product. But either way, it's sensitive to economic swings, and it's also, as we know, a very volatile space. So with that said, could you give our audience your outlook for the global macroeconomy as you see it, and what impact it could have on cannabis businesses in the near term?
Okay, so if you look at the cannabis is a very small industry today. I mean, the legal cannabis. And you see a reflection of the economy in the cannabis with much more volatility in the cannabis. So whatever is happening in the markets, you can see it in the cannabis much stronger. If the market is going down, cannabis will go down significantly. If the market is going up, cannabis will go up significantly. And cannabis is behaving like one market, okay, today. And if we're looking at the global economy, we see different trends. Inflation, like you said, maybe recession. Cannabis relatively is very defensive industry. I'm not speaking about the stock market. I'm speaking about the product.
Right.
Because if you speak about medicine, we know that medicine is one of the stiffest demand curve that there is. So the meaning of that even if the price go up higher, the demand is still there because it's medicine.
Right.
So you have this kind of segment. Usually in situations of stress, like there is in the world, people are going to places like drugs, medicines, everything that can reduce the tension. I think that in that aspect, cannabis is definitely in this category. And I think that once there is economic pressure, governments are starting to look for other sources of income. Yes. And I think that in that aspect, cannabis is an excellent solution for many economies today, because we've seen Canada, we've seen the benefits of Canada, we've seen each of the states that legalized, we've seen the economic benefit. Today, nobody can ignore that. Because the benefits are so high for the economy. So I think that it might push governments more and more to legalize cannabis, like we see today in Germany and actually all over Europe. So I think that in the overall, it will do good for the cannabis, not necessarily for the stock market, for the shares of the cannabis industry.
Yeah, and the way I see it too, we discussed this. I mean, the global economy will certainly have a significant impact on the business, but there is that additional aspect of that sort of slow crawl toward legalization that is sort of additional headwinds for the industry. And so that's why you'll see these, let's say sudden spikes in cannabis when there's one bit of good news, because I think that, investors are always just sort of hanging on, waiting for something. And then when there's an announcement by the President of the United States that he would like decriminalization to take place immediately, then you'll see that spike. But when there's overall, anxiety over the economy, I think it hits cannabis much harder because those companies are smaller.
Yeah, cannabis is here to stay. It's very clear. We won't go backwards. I think we will only go forward. And it's a question of time, politics. But what we see in the field actually is that more and more states legalize cannabis. Nothing terrible happened. We heard that it will be a disaster and kids will be in the street, addiction, and so on. Okay, we've seen that nothing happened. On the contrary.
And CRB Monitor, we tracked 67,000 businesses, and there are hundreds of thousands of people employed by that industry. And as you said, there really hasn't been, there's certainly scandals associated with the industry, but nothing that's so major that it's going to take down the industry. So I think as long as people are hanging on, that things will always gradually progress toward legalization and hopefully just a much larger marketplace globally. But that leads me to my next question. Without further ado, I wanted to talk about regulations. And this is interesting for us because you're located in Israel. Your business is Israel and Europe. And typically when I do these things, we talk very specifically about the US. But this actually is kind of a nice departure for us, because we could talk about things globally. Your decision to exit the Canadian market, which is recent news, would suggest that your exposure to US legalization has been minimized. And although I believe that US legalization would have a significant impact globally, I want to talk about sort of legalization in IM Cannabis's focus markets. So first, looking at Germany, it was announced just a few weeks ago that Germany set out plans to legalize cannabis, a move that Chancellor Olaf Scholz's government said would make Germany one of the first countries in Europe to do so, maybe the first, I'm not sure. Once legalized, acquiring and possessing 20 to 30 grams of recreational cannabis for personal consumption would be made legal, and there's no timeline for this plan. And now talking about Israel, medical marijuana for specified uses has been legal since the early 1990s for cancer patients and also other sort of pain-related illnesses like Parkinson's and MS and Crohn's disease and other chronic pain and post-traumatic stress disorder type things. And adults may use cannabis recreationally in Israel in sort of the privacy of their own homes and don't get punished for it. But with that said, adult use is not legal in Israel, and there appears to be no path for it, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. And as we know, looks like the Knesset seems to have been drifting further and further to the right, and I don't know how that's going to have an impact as well. And so after that long-winded introduction, Oren, what is your best guess on when adult use legalization might happen in Germany and in Israel, if it's not happening in the near term? Or if it is, that'd be good to know. But if it's not, how is IM Cannabis, let's say, positioned for that outcome of no, recreational legalization?
So, like you said, both of the markets are today medical markets. And it's very different medical market because it's medical market with GMP standards. It's not simple to enter this market. Israel is a bit different, and I think that in Israel we won't see legalization in the near term but we definitely can see significant change in the market and a significant increase in the number of patients because Israel is speaking about a change in the way that people can get a prescription. It will make it to a very big market, but not fully legalized. I think that for companies like us, it's better than legalization because of the barriers of entry and the fact that we are well rooted in this industry.
Mhm.
Germany, which is the biggest economy in Europe, just for the audience, Germany, if you take California, New York, Illinois combined, it's less than Germany, population-wise. You still have a room for like 10 million people, I think.
Mm.
So Germany is big. Germany is big, it's a big economy, significant, highly populated. And I think that to feed this market with enough cannabis, it's a process. It won't be in one day, it will take years. And I think that this market will rely heavily on the medical market in the first years. And I think that the channel of medical cannabis will stay open for many years, and that will be the main channel for high quality products.
Mm.
Because it takes time to build not only the capacity. The capacity takes a lot of time, but to build a capacity of high quality products takes even longer. So this is what I believe about the German market. Germany, they're speaking about 24 to start the legalization. I don't know if it's realistic or not. Mm-hmm. But like I said, the medical channel, I believe that will stay open, and this is where we're focusing now because we have huge competitive advantage over there with our supply channels into Germany and our access to high quality products. I think that this is the main channel that we will focus in the near future. And I think that it will be around 24. And I think that many other countries in Europe will follow Germany once they will set the regulations. Now, it's important to understand what was published is the first draft. Mm. It's going to change, I believe, significantly until there will be the final regulations. And I think that many countries in Europe are waiting for that because Germany is actually leading Europe if we speak about standards and regulations. Mm-hmm. And I think that many countries will actually copy the German regulations.
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting too. And we kind of talked about this a little bit last week when we had our conversation that, you know, medical marijuana, you know, it's sort of its sort of success or its growth is dependent on, you know, how the acceptance is, I think, in the medical community. So, you know, in the US, I think that number one, it has to be removed from, you know, Schedule 1, you know, that the Drug Enforcement Administration says it's a narcotic that's as dangerous as heroin. If that stigma is not there anymore, then I think it really does open up a pretty large opportunity for just about anyone out there, for doctors that are now willing to, you know, prescribe cannabis for things more like anxiety and depression and some other, you know, things that they currently might not be doing, you know. So I think as acceptance grows and evolves, I think that your business will be the beneficiary because you're well positioned there. And then you're not as dependent on legalization of recreational marijuana.
Yeah, we are working now. Okay, we're not waiting. We're not waiting. Okay, we're selling now.
Understood. All right. So then I think my last question for you, based on your view of the industry, let's say. So, and this is fairly timely interview because you announced recently that you were divesting of your businesses in Canada with the company called Trichome. You're going to exit Canadian cannabis market to focus resources on pursuing growth opportunities in Israel, Germany, and Europe. And in your words, this is a crucial part of our ongoing strategic refocusing plan to concentrate our efforts on the highest value markets and accelerate our path to profitability. By exiting the Canadian cannabis market, we are seeking to maximize efficiency and create the right balance for future success. And I won't go into the rest of your quote, but I will ask you this. So can you elaborate on this decision to exit the Canadian market completely rather than, say, seek out new opportunities there after the Trichome business didn't quite work out as expected?
So it's a good question. We decided to go out of Canada after a process of checking all the alternatives, and we tried other options before we decided to exit the Canadian market. When we decided to exit the Canadian market, it's after we tried, like I said, few things. We lost money in Canada. We've done 2 sessions of downsizing. We tried almost, I think that everything we tried, and it was a tough decision to go out of Canada. But we decided that we have to focus our resources in the right markets. The Canadian market is the biggest legal market today in the world. On the other hand, there is some structural issues, I would say, in Canada. It's not secret. Everybody can see that most of the Canadian companies are not making money, are losing money. And it's not a sustainable business model to lose money. And if we can make money in other places, I don't understand why we should stay and lose money, because we didn't succeed in making money in Canada. And I haven't seen in the future how we can make money even. So.
And we've been looking at revenues across the board, and it seems like while they've been growing pretty steadily over the last few years across the U.S., the revenues have kind of stagnated in Canada, and so I can certainly echo your your sentiments that that it seems like it's a market where there probably isn't a lot of apparent growth at the moment.
Yeah, it's also the structure. The government will have to go into this market and to do some changes, I believe. I don't know when it will happen. Until then, I think that we will see many companies that will go under.
And I think that maybe I don't know if you would agree or disagree with this point though, but looking at Israel, where they're very well established, let's say, in medical cannabis, and there could be some move toward recreational in the future, and you have Germany. I think these markets have probably seen the sort of successes and failures, particularly in North America, and maybe they're able to kind of do things much better structurally, and so being sort of well positioned in those markets is a much better sort of decision strategically.
Yeah, not only that. If you're looking at Canada is less than half Germany, highly saturated market, with a tax structure that doesn't allow companies to make money. Okay, I mean specific tax on cannabis. So definitely the German market and Europe as a whole, is a completely different opportunity.
Yep. No, I would have to agree with that. And finally, we can wrap up. So CRB Monitor's research team follows the cannabis news cycle very closely, and we update our subscribers with the latest in regulatory filings and press releases and exchange announcements. And so to close things out, and given the industry's uncertainty due to the regulatory environment and illicit market cannabis and the uncertainties in the global economy, what good news can you offer IMCC's current and future shareholders?
So I think that the company today is much more focused and focused in the highest potential markets today in the world, I think. The company is growing quarter over quarter. In 23, IMC will move to profitability, and we see that our markets are growing constantly. So now we are much more focused. We're going to profitability. We are in, I think, the best markets today in the world. And I'm very optimistic about the EU. I think that the EU will move very significantly in the coming years. I mean, massively.
Well, that is great to hear. Well, that is all the time we have for today. And I'd like to thank our guest, Oren Shuster, CEO and Director of IM Cannabis Corp, for joining us today. And Oren, I wish you and IMCC only success in the future. And for thank you very much.
Thank you very much for hosting me. It was fun.
And it was really great time, and hopefully we get to do this again in the future. And for our viewers out there, stay tuned for our next interview in our series of Q&As with some of the most insightful and influential leaders in the cannabis industry. And for the ultimate in cannabis market intelligence, be sure to check out crbmonitor.com. Thank you, and see you next time.